makers, welcome back. Today we're doing a fun painting tutorial of some fireflies in our sky. So we have these colors today: green, yellow, fluorescent violet, brown, blue, white, and black. I have some mixing plates to mix up all of my colors, as well as a can of water, some paper towels, and I'm working with 3 different paintbrushes today. One big square flat brush, one medium square flat brush, and one small round pointy brush. Now, first thing we need to do is our background. So we are going to start down in the grass, and we're going to be mixing up a nice grassy green. So we're going to be grabbing up a mixing plate and our large square flat brush to start off. For this color, we're going to grab a little bit of white, a nice big scoop of green, and just a little bit of yellow, and mix until we get something around a nice grass green. And then, using just the tip blade of our brush, we're going to go up about 1/3 way on both sides of our canvas and just a little bit lower in the center, and draw this sort of really shallow smiley face here at the bottom. Fill in everything underneath, and you have this sort of little valley of grass. Now, next up, we're going to get a clean brush and we're going to mix up a blue that will be in our sky. So once your brush is nice and clean and dry, we're going to be grabbing a little bit of white and a nice big scoop of our blue. If you want to add a little bit of purple hue to it, you could add some of that fluorescent violet or a little bit of red. Now with this color, we're going to focus it right above our grass and in the middle. We're not going to go past this point in our sky, and we're going to use that sort of U-shaped smiley face shape brush stroke where it's a little curved. As we get down to our grass, we're going to go all the way to the edges of our canvas and blend the 2 paint colors together. If they're not blending for some reason, you might need to get more green on your brush because maybe it has dried up, or maybe even try a little bit of water to help them blend more. Next, we're going to be creating a purple that will be in our sky. I'm going to clean off my brush, and our next color mixture is going to be just a little bit of white, a big thing of fluorescent violet, and a tiny touch of our blue. Mix, mix, mix. And this purple is going to live right above our blue and then goes all the way to the top of our sky. So obviously at the top is going to go from side to side, and as we work down to meet the blue, we're going to use that same U-shape brush stroke. Now we want to deepen the corners of our sky. So after we clean our brush again, we're going to be grabbing some black paint. Now we're only going to be painting in one single direction. So on the left side of our canvas, from the top corner, we're going to sweep down and over to the right. Just sweeping in one direction, picking the brush back up, going on the edge, and sweeping again. We're sweeping little lines of this into the blue and purple sections into our sky. You can see some areas go further in to the sky than others, almost like little arms or hands outstretching. None of these lines are the same, so feel free to switch up the lengths to make it look more organic. Now we're going to do the same thing, but to the other side. This time we're sweeping from the right over down to the left. Next, we're going to be thinking about the pathway that is down in our grass. I'm going to be switching over to my small pointy brush. And our pathway is going to be right here in the middle of this green grassy patch. Now, with my brush, I'm just going to use straight green right from my palette, kind of twirling it on my brush. And we want to figure out the furthest point and then the closest point. You can see that I have 2 dots here close by and 1 dot further away, almost like a triangle. And then I'm going to connect those dots. The one on the left is more straightforward, the one on the right is more curved. This is just perspective. Then in between, I'm going to be filling that in with all these tiny little dotting motions with my brush. Same color, just getting this sort of grassy texture. Now I'm going to add some taller grass texture into the sides of that pathway. These are long lines where we sort of just start the line and flick upwards all throughout the grassy patches. You can see they're angled inwards, so the ones on the left are angled more to the right, the ones on the right are more angled to the left. Now we want to add a lighter color to this grassy section. So we're going to be taking some yellow paint, a little bit of green, maybe even a touch of white, and doing the same exact motion that we did with the darker green. Lastly, we're going to add some depth with a little bit of black paint. So clean brush, tiny bit of black on your brush, and we're adding just a few strokes of this black paint into the grassy section, as well as a couple little dots along the outsides of our pathway. Next, we're going to think about some fireflies. So the ones that are closer to the grass are going to show more green. So that super lime green that we used for our grass, we're going to take some of that on our brush and just do random little dots and random little clusters along the top edge of our grass area. Next, we're going to add some loose fireflies with a little bit of a more yellow color. So clean brush, a scoop of white, scoop of yellow, mix that up. And we're doing the same little dotting motion. This time, these are just a little bit further up in our sky and also intertwined within some of these lime green dots. Lastly, I'm going to take some just pure white paint and add a couple more dots just towards the top edge of where all the fireflies are. Now, I mentioned this step about adding the black into the pathway earlier, but just now getting to it. Literally forgot to do it, but there you are. That's that step there. Now, before we do anything else, we need to let our painting dry. Give yourself about 10 to 15 minutes before we do anything else. Now, once our painting is dry, we're going to focus on the firefly lanterns. I'm going to be taking my small pointy brush and we're going to be creating a light yellow with some white and yellow paint. And we're going to be drawing the strings or the cords in which the lanterns are going to be hanging on. So there are 2 of them. The first one starts in the top left-hand corner and wiggles over to just a couple inches down on the right side of our canvas in our sky. Using very light pressure, so these lines are pretty thin. The next line is going to start somewhere in the purple section of your sky, wiggle down, cross over, and finish underneath the first line that we made. Now these lines don't have to be straight, they can be wiggly, they can have little lumps and bumps, and that's okay. Next thing that we're going to focus on is doing the basic shape for all of our lanterns. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of yellow, a little bit of brown, mixing them up till we have this nice golden color, and adding a touch of white just to thicken it up. Now, we're going to be doing basic shapes, and we're going to be adding layers of different colors on top, so bear with me and trust the process. First thing we're going to do is figure out where the opening of the jar is, or the top cap of the jar is. We're going to draw this sort of oval shape here, just somewhere in our sky, wherever we want our lantern to be dangling from. Make sure it's not too far from the first light yellow lines that we made. Underneath that oval, a couple little smiley face lines. Then we're going to draw lines coming down on each side of the lantern and then curved like a little smiley face on the bottom. Rainbow right on top of that, down at the bottom, to give the illusion that this is a 3D shape. And we're going to put a couple little random lines of this golden color within the lantern. Now I'm going to do this 2 more times, as I want to have 3 lanterns. You can do this as many times as you wish. Depends on how many you would like. Now I'm going to connect my lanterns to the strings with little holders. These are really tall rainbow shapes that go from one side of our lantern to the other and loop over top of the strings. Next, with that golden color, we're going to identify where all of our main fireflies are going to be. These are larger circles, larger than the ones that we have down towards our grass area. And we can make these multiple different sizes. Some of these can be in the jars, a lot of them are going to be outside of the jars, some are bigger, some are smaller. Play with the sizing. Now we want to make these fireflies seem like they're glowing, so I'm going to get a clean small pointy brush and get a little bit of white paint. We're going to be adding a little bit of white right into the middle of our fireflies, and then make them even shine brighter. We're going to add little swirlies around the outside of that, but that's to come later. For now, we're just going to take that white paint and put just a dot in the center of each of our fireflies. Now I'm also going to add a few little white dots here and there throughout my sky, just to show some fireflies that are a little bit further away, but higher up in altitude. Now here comes the part that really makes them glow, is the swirl. So a little bit of white paint is all you need on your brush, starting in the middle where you have that circle and then swirling around the outside edge just to get really thin rings that make them seem like they're beaming light. Now next we're going to add some dimension and really define these jars that our fireflies are in. So with some black paint and our small pointed brush, we're going to be outlining parts of our jars, like the jar top and the little part that screws on, those little smiley face shapes underneath of it, the outside edge of the jar, and then maybe a couple extra lines on the bottom or in the middle just to help define it, as well as the handle that goes over top of the string. Next, I'm going to be getting back into a pale yellow, white and yellow mixed together with my small pointy brush to add some highlights to my jars. Now with that light yellow paint that we used for the strings that hold up our mason jars, we want to redefine where the line is over top of the handle for our mason jars. So starting next to the left part of the handle, we're going to draw a line over the right part of the handle. This gives the illusion that it's sitting over top, as well as the line that goes over top of the back lantern. You can just draw a line straight through the lantern in the back. And then we want to add a little texture to these lines. So with a clean brush in white paint, I'm going to do these just little wiggles across the entirety of each string. Now the last step of our painting is adding just a little bit more warmth to our jars for our fireflies. Small pointing brush that's nice and clean, just grabbing a little bit of brown paint and adding a few little touches of brown throughout my jars. Now once you're done, don't forget to sign your painting. Take credit. You want to be proud of the work that you have created, and we'd love to see what you're painting at home. Feel free to post on social media and tag us at muse_paintbar so we can check them out. If you want to see more from our channel, make sure you like and subscribe. And with that, don't forget to always paint outside the lines.